You might think you know Peppa Pig, but these animation mistakes say otherwise. Let's jump into the funniest errors hiding in the episodes. Like in the episode The Lifeboat, we can see Grampy Rabbit standing on top of the hatch, but as soon as Peppa and Danny jump on the deck, the hatch disappears. And also focus on the steering wheel, because when the scene zooms in, the steering wheel disappears as well. And look at this gear stick here. It's ahead of the steering wheel, but by the end of the episode, the gear stick shifts behind the steering wheel. In the episode Kylie Kangaroo, we notice a few magical mistakes. Look at Rebecca here. She's wearing boots, but just few frames later, she's seen wearing her regular shoes. And we can see Danny is also wearing shoes. But when rain pours down, the kids start running towards the house, and now we can notice both Danny and Rebecca are wearing boots. In the episode Mask, Peppa and her friends are at their playgroup getting ready to make masks. At the beginning of the episode, when the kids get to their respective tables, we noticed multiple errors. In the first table, we can see two glasses beside each other, one with scissors and other with colored pens. But when the scene zooms out, the glass with colored pens is now on top of the colored papers. And that's not all. On the second table, we can notice there are 3 trays, but when the scene zooms out, we can only see 2. Moving on, in the episode Gym Class, Madame Gazelle takes the children to Grampy Rabbit's gym class. And when they get to the gym, Grampy Rabbit briefs them about the class. Now focus on the position of Candy Cat and Emily Elephant. As we can see, Candy Cat is towards the farther side and Emily is at the near side. But the mistake is, in the very next scene, their position interchanges. Within a millisecond, they just swapped their positions. And that's not all. Later in the episode, when Grampy Rabbit is telling the kids a story, the scene switches to Danny Dog with Zoe Zebra behind him. But the issue is, when the scene zooms out, now look where Zoe Zebra is standing. She's now behind Susie Sheep. In the episode Playground, Peppa and her friends are at the playground, along with their parents. And during the intro, we get the view of the ground. Now let's look at Mummy Cat's position here. As we can see, she's near the fence, much farther from Candy Cat. But seconds later, the scene zooms onto Candy Cat, and all of a sudden, Mummy Cat is beside her. Now, this next mistake is absolutely hilarious. In the episode The Train Ride, Madame Gazelle takes the playgroup on a train ride, where they must check off what they see on their activity sheets. But at the train station, Pedro loses his ticket. When Pedro is searching for his ticket, look carefully at the ground. We can clearly see there's nothing there. But moments later, when Madame Gazelle arrives, Zoe Zebra points towards the ground, and there appears Pedro's train ticket. There's no way that ticket was originally there. In the episode Parachute Jump, when Pepper and George tell Mummy Pig about the skydiving thing, we can notice a fridge in the background. And on the fridge door, there are various types of stickers. Now look carefully at these 2 stickers, the A and the B. But the mistake is, when the scene zooms onto Mummy Pig, the B sticker simply disappears. Moving on, in the episode Molly Mole, there is a new girl at school by the name of Molly, and she quickly makes friends with Peppa and Rebecca Rabbit. When Peppa enters Molly Mole's room, we can notice different objects scattered throughout the room. On the wall we can see 2 photo frames. There's also a ladder behind the bed, and a doll is close to the bed, and this traffic cone is on this side of the room. But when Daddy Pig enters the room, everything looks different. Look at the wall. Earlier there were 2 photo frames, but now there are 3 frames. The ladder that was behind the bed is now ahead of the bed, and the doll that was near the bed is nowhere to be seen. And also, there are 3 traffic cones now, when earlier there was only 1. Like, how's this even possible? Maybe Daddy Pig's walk caused an earthquake which shifted the entire room. We've already talked about a couple of errors we found in the episode Jumble Sale, and today we found one more. When we get the view of Peppa's classroom, we can see that Miss Rabbit's table is in between the window, whereas Mummy Cat and Madame Gazelle's table is in the middle of the classroom. But the mistake is, when scene zooms onto Mummy Cat, we can see that her position has changed. She's now in between the window, where Miss Rabbit was moments ago, and also, she's near the wall, whereas earlier she was in the middle of the room. In the episode Madame Gazelle House, Peppa, George, Mummy and Daddy Pig have gone to visit Madame Gazelle. When they get into the house, the family soon realize that her house is being pushed over by the tall tree next to it. Now look carefully. Here we can see there's nothing on the tree's branch. But later in the episode, when Mr. Bull climbs up the tree, we can notice an owl, a bird's nest, and a beehive. But earlier, we clearly saw there was nothing on the tree. In the episode Mr. Bull's New Road, Mr. Bull and his brother inform Dr. Hamster that her clinic for sick animals is right in the middle of the road. Here we can see that the work is supervised by Mr. Rabbit. Notice he appears and walks up the hill where Dr. Hamster's home is. But the issue is, moments ago, there were excavators exactly in that spot where Mr. Rabbit walked so calmly. There's also another interesting error. At the beginning of the episode, we see Mr. Rhinoceros and another character in the excavator. But the issue is, when Mr. Rabbit, along with the Bull brothers, decide they should make a tunnel, the excavators are empty and the two brothers get into them, but earlier, there were operators inside them. Seriously, the animators really need to decide who is going to drive the excavators. Now let's look at another disappearance case. In the episode Library, Peppa and her family go to the library to get some new books. And when Miss Rabbit takes Peppa and George to the children's section, we can notice a table and 4 chairs. But the issue is moments later. Mummy Pig reads out a story to Peppa and her friends, and the scene zooms out. But wait, where's the table and chairs? They are gone. And you might be thinking that they probably moved them. Well, it's not possible because seconds later, the table and chairs magically reappear. Going back to the episode Masks, all the students in Peppa's playgroup are making a mask for themselves. And in one of the scenes, we can notice various toys and items on top of the counter inside the classroom. If we look closely, we can see there are 2 books on one side. After that, a glass filled with colored pencils, and then a toy, a letter block, and 3 letter blocks stacked on one another. However, after all the children finished their masks, notice that the toy and the blocks had suddenly swapped places, with the toy now on the counter's edge and the blocks moved to the other side. It seems like these toys can move on their own. In the episode School Camp, Peppa and her friends go on a camping trip with their teacher, Madame Gazelle. When they reach the camping spot, we can notice that Peppa is wearing a purple backpack. But the mistake is, when she starts setting up the camp with Susie, her backpack is now red. Within seconds, Peppa's backpack changed colors. And that's not all. When Peppa and Susie are setting up the tent, the scene zooms out. And if we zoom in at Peppa and Susie, we can notice they're not wearing backpacks at all. Later in the episode, when everyone is sleeping, Susie comes out of her tent with a torch, and we can see that the torch is red colored. But the mistake is, when Susie reaches Madame Gazelle's tent, the torch is now purple. Seriously, what's up with all these items changing colors within seconds? Now this next error is really funny. In the episode The Playground, Peppa and George are at the playground with their friends. In one of the scenes, Daddy Pig gets up on the slide, but he gets stuck while sliding down. But that's not the mistake here. To help free Daddy Pig, Peppa and her friends get on the slide. Now look carefully at the order here. First it's Peppa, then Susie, Danny Dog, Candy Cat, Rebecca, and Pedro. But when they successfully free Daddy Pig from the slide, they go down it, one by one. But the mistake is, when we see the slide again, Rebecca Rabbit isn't there anymore. And that's not all. When the scene switches towards Daddy Pig, we can notice Rebecca Rabbit jumping from the slide, but the issue is, earlier she was sitting behind Candy Cat, but here she jumped before him. How can it be even possible? So these were some of the animation errors in Peppa Pig, and as always, we'll see you all in the next video.